had strict bedtime for some reason.
So we was out of here by 8 o'clock yesterday.
Yeah. Now I fall asleep. I try not to fall asleep at 10 o'clock. Sometimes yesterday I was outside for a while. So by the time I got home and took a shower, I was like, oh, I'm up. But shit, my body said, no, you're not a liar. I stayed in. Jake Tapper. Trying to see what.
Dan said Blanche was on Meet the Press.
Who?
Blanche? Who's that? Blackie? Blanche. Who's this TT? Who's this person? The Attorney General. Oh, that one.
Talk about nothing.
I thought we watched that one, Ben.
Okay, so Janine Pirro and Barney Frank was on State of the Union. Chris Wright. No, that was last week. So this week is just Janine Pirro and Barney Frank as their featured guests. Let me see who was on.
Yeah, Barney Frank is actually in hospice care. And he was actually did the interview from his hospice care.
Okay.
He had his clothes. Oh my God, yes. He's the guy that for the gay and lesbian rights or something or another.
Yeah, but now he's coming out saying that the progressive left is doing it wrong. And it's interesting because he's historically a progressive. He's actually just wrote a book basically telling progressives to stop doing what they're doing. I don't know exactly, but he explained it in the interview. It's pretty cool. The Janine Pirro interview was interesting too. He tried to get her on a couple of things, but she's a master at.
She was on alcohol.
No, she's a master at interviews because she had her own television show, so you can't play her. She's well trained for media.
So the guest they might be better for the other one because this one got Kevin Hassett. This is for Face the Nation.
The best one each week is this week with Slappadopoulos. And what's the woman? ABC this week usually has the best interviews, and they have a good roundtable with Chris Christie and what's the black woman from Louisiana?
Yeah, there's a short.
Who's the black woman from Indiana? Donna Brazil. So that's really it's very good back and forth.
I'll play singing in with Jack.
Yeah. Starts off with Janine Pirro. You're lonely now.
Can you please find yourself behind the mute button? Thank you.
Is he up for episodes?
Yeah, that's why I couldn't ever play it. I had it live yesterday, but they were engulfed in another conversation, so I didn't play it.
And then let me Google where to watch. They only got on Amazon Prime. And I'm not paying $2 to watch that shit.
All the Sunday shows ready because I have YouTube TV, so I don't know which one would you like. I have them all.
Why did Blaze State of the not Citizen? Yeah, State of the Union with Jack Tapper.
You want that from the beginning? You want the Janine Pirro?
Yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah, I got it all. No commercials. Go straight in.
I don't have YouTube TV, man. I have Hulu. Matter of fact, let me see if I got it on.
Here we go. He said face.
Just an attempt at my life.
Can you hear that all right?
As investigators released new video of the attack, what else was happening just out of frame? U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro's first CNN interview next.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
All right, cool.
Plus, political earthquake. After shaping up the midterms, the Supreme Court may now rule on abortion rights. As the midterm stakes rise, why don't voters trust either party to fix it? Republican Senator Tom Tillis joins me ahead. And looking back, a progressive firebrand takes stock of his life in politics.
I've been trying to decide what I'm spending the night on.
His message for his party when former Democratic Congressman Barney Frank joins me from hospice care. Ahead. Hello, I'm Big Tapper in Washington, where the state of our union is 9 weeks into a 6-week war and 6 months after the midterm elections. President Trump back on the campaign trail this weekend, hoping his first public event in the villages in Florida, his first since being the target of yet another failed assassination attempt, this time at the White House Correspondents Association dinner last Saturday. The president has since joked about refusing to wear a bulletproof vest because it would add 20 pounds. He has vowed to quickly reschedule the dinner. But with the suspected gunman behind bars, questions remain about the Secret Service security posture around the event, and as authorities released new videos of the attacker appearing to case the hotel, passing through the security magnetometer, we still don't have a clear view of everything that happened as the gunman got closer to that stairway leading to the hotel ballroom. Joining us now is the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, who's handling this case, Janine Pirro. Go ahead, Ms. Frank, this is your very first interview on CNN ever.
Not ever, but in
Quite some time.
probably a decade.
Well, welcome to CNN. Welcome. Let's begin with this Secret Service officer or agent who was shot at the dinner. On Thursday, you said the suspect in the shooting, Cole Allen, quote, fired off that 12-gauge shotgun one time, and, quote, he fired that gun in the direction of the Secret Service officer. Have you been able to determine yet which gun actually hit the Secret Service agent, and will you present that evidence to the public?
Well, we have been able to determine which gun it was. First of all, there's video of the defendant shooting at the Secret Service agent. There is also the agent who will tell you himself that he was shot at and then he returned the fire. But more importantly, Jake, is the fact that we now can establish that a pellet that came from the buckshot from the defendant's Mossberg pump-action shotgun was intertwined with the fiber of the vest of the Secret Service officer.
So it's definitively his
It
fault.
is definitively his bullet. He hit at that Secret Service agent. He had every intention to kill him.
people.
Oh,
The suspect and several officers then run out of frame. Is there additional surveillance video of what happens down the hall, and is that going to be released too?
Well, as we go forward, there will be more that will be released. But at this point, we've released everything we needed for the detention. We will be going into the grand jury. May 8th is a preliminary hearing scheduled. But as things become more public, we are more than happy to be transparent.
Is there more video?
There will be more video.
Okay, but from after they run out of frame?
Yes.
Okay. In the surveillance video that you posted on social media, we see this officer with a canine, with a dog, stop in a doorway that the suspect had just walked through. The police dog seemed to have an idea that something was on the other end of that door. The officer tugs him back. I'm not finding fault with the officer. But then seconds later, they walk away. The suspect runs out, charging through the dinner with a rifle in his hand. What exactly happened there, and what's on the other side of those doors?
Well, apparently the defendant, and we know that he had been casing the hotel while he was in the hotel. We have video, and we'll see that because we've been very transparent with the evidence. But he goes into that room to take off a long coat that he has on.
So that's a room?
That's a room, and he discards the coat. He's wearing a long dark coat because he has to hide the Mossberg pump shotgun. And he takes the coat off. As soon as he does, he comes out like a bat out of hell to start to approach what's going on there. Talk about the dog. I'm not an expert with dogs, but my understanding is that you have many yourself. We were talking about that. This dog, as I understand it, is a bond dog. It's a bond protection dog. But as we get more information, we'll be clear. Again, it's a fluid situation. More will come out.
I want to ask you this, with all due respect. You were a guest at the dinner.
Yes.
And potentially, God forbid, target, right? You're in the administration.
Right.
Has it been suggested to you at any point by anyone that maybe you need to recuse yourself because you were both a witness and a potential target?
Absolutely not. I mean, there is no way. I mean, that's like telling witnesses that, you can't testify at the trial because you were there. The truth is that there were 2,500 of us who were there, and my ability to prosecute this case has nothing to do with my being there.
Okay. Let's talk about, because you said that the president was the target.
Yes.
Let me just state, before I ask these two questions,
Yes.
I am not questioning that President Trump was the target. But I'm not.
He clearly was.
I'm not, but as an evidentiary matter, it sounds like the defense is going to challenge that. So I want to ask you about that. The defense says that the manifesto was vague about who specifically the target was. Cole Allen is being charged with attempting to assassinate the president. What is the case that you're going to build other than the obvious facts that he's there with a gun and the president is there, which is not nothing, don't get me wrong.
No, it's a pretty solid case.
But what's the evidentiary? Because they're going to say he doesn't say in the manifesto that Trump is the target by name.
I think if you read the manifesto, and I know that you have, it is very clear who the intended target is. It is very clear based upon the fact that as soon as this president said that he was going to be at the Hilton for the White House Correspondents' Dinner on March 2nd, he then made the decision to hatch the plan. We have a lot of evidence that indicates his intent and the fact that everything that he did thereafter, whether it was, following what the president was doing, where he was going to the day of the event at the hotel, tracking on his phone. Is the president in the ballroom yet? Has the president sat down yet? What time will dinner be served? This is clearly the president is a target. And make no mistake, it is not just the manifesto. It is his actions. It is the fact this guy thought he was Rambo. He was armed to the teeth.
Took selfies.
He took selfies. He's got the Mossberg. He's got all kinds of ammunition with it. He's got the 38. He's got knives, daggers, sheaths, holsters, wire cutters, needle-nose pliers, and he takes a picture of himself. Yeah. He is smug, he is proud, and he is focused on what he's doing. And by the way, I know you want to get through your questions, so I want to make one.
You've done this before.
Yeah. This guy.
Yeah.
What is his defense? Because that's what you're getting at. Did he really want to kill the president? I can tell you we will be able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. The one issue in the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This is a guy who had no psychotic break. He documented his trip from the West Coast all the way to Chicago, all the way to Washington, and he talks about the beautiful country and the Southwest desert and the woods of Pennsylvania, and he is very, very lucid and clear.
So you alluded to the target being cleared by the manifesto. The only name in the manifesto is Kash Patel. He cites Kash
He leaves him out.
which he says he's not. Kash Patel's not a target. He does say, and I want to apologize for using this language, but he does say, quote, "I am no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes," unquote.
Now, first of all, that's this. I mean, there's a lot of other things you could have referred to. This guy is a hater. He hates Trump so much he wants to kill him.
Is he talking about Trump in that?
You're going to have to ask him that. I don't really care.
So let me ask you a question. President Trump has now awfully, horribly been the target of 3 assassination attempts that we know of.
Right, that we know of, exactly.
There's obviously a lot of incendiary language out there, horrific language out there. I just quoted from some of it from the alleged shooter who didn't get that from nowhere. That's a lot of crazy people saying a lot of horrific things. I want to play Tucker Carlson, your former colleague at Fox, last month talking about the president.
Here's a leader who's mocking the gods of his ancestors, mocking the God of gods, and exalting himself above them. Could this be the Antichrist? Well, who knows?
That seems incendiary too, no?
Look, you know, the whatever Tucker Carlson says is not relevant to me right now. I really don't care about what he says. All I care about are the facts, the evidence, and what I can prove. All of this other stuff is noise. What we've got is a president of the United States. He is literally being targeted. He is being hunted. And our job, and the job of everyone in law enforcement, is to protect that president. I don't care what people on the outside say. I disagree with them entirely. But what we cannot do, Jake, we cannot blame the victim. We cannot start saying...
I'm not blaming the victim.
Right. And I don't want other people to blame the victim either. And that's what this is about. This is about people who are so above and beyond their skis that they think that they can discuss all kinds of issues that have nothing to do with them and that are creating problems for people like the president.
What is your response when you see these deranged conspiracy theories on the left and the right saying that this was staged? And again, let me say,
Yeah, I saw that.
I was in the room. It was not staged. This was legit. I'm not trying to give credence to it,
Thank you.
but there's a lot out there about that. What do you think when you see it?
Well, what I think is that people don't know what they're talking about, and that's why it's so important for this administration and for me, for the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche. We got these videos out, Jake, as soon as we could. We went into that detention hearing, and we put evidence on the record after the detention hearing so that we could be transparent, so that you could see the videos, you could see the evidence, you could see what we knew we already had. And that's what we're about. We're about proving the case. All of this other stuff is nonsense. Sometimes I think people just waste their time. Follow the evidence, follow the facts, and that's where we are.
But it is what Tucker said. Another former colleague of yours, Jonah Goldberg, says that to him, and I'm paraphrasing here, what Tucker said about the Antichrist is more incendiary than what James Comey posted on Instagram. While not defending what James Comey posted on Instagram, do you see Jonah's point?
You know, I'm really not here as a political pundit anymore. I'm here as a prosecutor. My job is to decide whether or not I have evidence and whether I've got 30 years in this, a prosecutor, a DA, a judge, and now the United States attorney. My job is to not talk about talking heads and what they say. My job is to come here and offer you, CNN, any evidence that we have that will answer the questions you have.
Let's talk about one more case before you go.
Of course.
The criminal investigation into the outgoing federal secretary general
Yes.
Powell that you suspended.
Yes.
I know you've spoken with my next guest, Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina.
stop me from doing that. And therefore, the only way to get evidence, the only way to find out what happened is through the Inspector General. And I spoke to Michael Horowitz and I said, I would like this in short order. You have the ability to talk to witnesses. I have been foreclosed from doing that. And we continue to litigate the issue. And we will litigate the issue. We're going to make a motion to vacate the order of Judge Boasberg because we think it's extremely important for us as prosecutors, the precedent that it sets, to prevent us from going into a grand jury.
So it does not sound like you're committing to, if the Inspector General finds nothing, you won't move forward. It sounds like you're going to keep trying to find out more.
No, it depends on what he finds.
Depends on what he finds. But if he finds nothing,
Let me tell you something. When I was a DA, Child Protective Services would come in and say, we found nothing. It's often that I could go in and say, you found nothing, but I found a crime. So I want to see those statements. I want to see what's there. If there's something there, great. And if there isn't, I'll go home.
okay. U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Janine Pirro. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. Hope you'll come back.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
He took on the White House and won. Next up, I'm going to ask Republican Senator Tom Tillerson what he said today.
Senator, can you pause for a second?
Yes. That's been paused. I don't know if we want to go beyond that, right? Did you just want to do the Pirro interview or did you want more?
Well, so we can talk about it.
Okay.
It's a little weird to me how someone who was in a ballroom can be a witness to a person committing a crime that they didn't see. That's kind of weird when he asked that question.
No, he said that she was a target. She's a potential target of the perpetrator, and she was a witness to what happened because she was one of 2,500 guests that were in the ballroom. So he asked her if she thinks she should recuse herself, and she thought that was ridiculous because how is she going to prosecute? Well, how is she going to maintain a fair and balanced investigation if she was both the target and a witness to what happened? She was saying she can, to me, it seems like a conflict of interest, but she seems to not recognize that conflict.
A victim of a crime is a valid witness to that crime. It's not a trial. There's no conflict.
But what the prosecutor, the conflict is how can she also prosecute? How can she also oversee the prosecution? My God, what?
Prosecutor's job is the pursuit of the truth.
You weren't even here when they were talking. You don't even know what we're talking about. The question was, how can you, as a victim, as a target, also be neutral and objective as a prosecutor? He was asking, why didn't she recuse herself? That's all.
Right.
Prosecutor's job is the pursuit of the truth.
That doesn't nothing to do with the question.
They're not obligated to be neutral and objective. They're obligated to pursue the truth.
I think he just likes to speak there.
Yeah, but he's got like 1 more minute. He didn't even hear the question. It wasn't even in here.
You repeated the question. I heard it.
It was longer than that. Don't respond to me again.
Thank you for Mayor Kennedy for playing this morning because I don't have YouTube to play that.
Yeah. So I guess let me ask you this: when a prosecutor doesn't tend to be neutral, as far as I remember, now I'm thinking about it. Prosecutors come out and they say the person is guilty, and I'm going to be able to prove their guilt. So they're never really known any errors about being neutral. I mean, they do want to do what's fair and just. They always come out and say, we're gonna prove this person is guilty. That's what I remember DAs doing all around the country. Is that not true? It's not like they approach this by saying, we don't know if he's innocent or guilty. We're gonna take a stepwise approach. No, they say, we think he's guilty. That's why we arrested him. That's why we indicted him. And we're gonna be able to prove his guilt. So from that perspective, maybe there is no conflict because she's already assuming his guilt based on the evidence that's been presented.
Right, and what she should. How was she a witness? That's why I'm confused.
But she was in the ballroom when the man.
She was in the ballroom, but he didn't make it to the ballroom.
Right. So like literally, I was at the hospital last week, and while I was at the hospital, a man shot his wife and then brought her to the hospital.
What?
They locked down the hospital. I wasn't a witness to anything. The hospital there. The police didn't come ask me anything. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, he never got to where she was. So she can't say, I saw him running, I saw the gun. Now, her being an intended target, that is a different conversation. But I didn't think it was weird that he said that she was a witness.
But I do think she still needs to. This isn't something she should be able to take on because she still was there.
The crime doesn't just, the thing you witnessed just isn't the crime itself, TT. She may be called by the defense. Where's the Secret Service station? Where was the president? When did he get there? It's not just whether or not you see a crime. If my neighbor kills himself, kills his wife, or his wife kills her husband inside the house, I can still be a witness to certain things, even if I don't see the crime.
Right. Well,
prosecutors are supposed to be impartial. Excuse me, I'm speaking. Prosecutors are supposed to be impartial. They're not supposed to put their fingers on the scale. They're supposed to take it where the evidence leads them. If someone is a target of a crime, if I were a prosecutor from my state or county and someone came and shot me, that would not be partial. It is a fair question. They are meant to uphold standards of impartiality. Obviously. Do I think the lady should recuse herself? I don't know. But it's a fair question. It's not a ridiculous question. And they're not supposed to put their fingers on the scale. Impartiality can lead you to prosecution, but you're not supposed to weigh one side or the other, hide evidence, violate Brady, etc., etc.
any other comments?
Catch her on a couple of things, and she wasn't going for it. Like he was throwing things out there for her to trap herself. She was like, "I'm not here."
There were no trap questions. What are you talking
I
about?
didn't say trap questions.
You just said you tried to trap her.
I said he was throwing things out there to get her to respond to things that she knew better. He knew better not to respond. I thought she did a masterful job in avoiding those.
Why don't you give an example?
He mentioned something about a comment that Tucker Carlson said about Trump being the Antichrist. And then he wanted her response, and she flipped it to the side. Then he follows up by saying, "Do you think the perpetrator was talking about Trump when he's talking about a rapist?" Like he did the same thing Nora O'Donnell.
That would matter if you're part of the claim as a prosecutor in the manifesto is if you're going after X, Y, and Z. That's actually an important question. And when it goes to court, they'll argue that's what we was talking about. Because the defense, if you're following the case and not following 10 clips online, is arguing because part of the charge is specifically against Trump. And it wasn't Trump. So when they go in the courtroom, they're going to use that to say he was talking about Trump. That's why that question is an important one, especially for a prosecutor. That's the whole point.
And she said you got to ask him. She really didn't even say one word.
That's not a good answer. That's the point. That's what I'm saying. Well, no, that's a good answer for an interview. What she said is fine. But it's not about tripping him up. If you're talking about the prosecution and a target, and someone says for his crimes, as a prosecutor, you would say, yeah, he was talking about that person. Because the statute that they're charging under is about that person. If you say, well, we don't know who that person is, then that gives a defense deniability. That's why in this question, for a prosecutor, it's a question. There was no trap. Everything is not always a trap. I actually thought it was a boring interview. I think Jack was horrible. But I didn't think there was any like traps or anything like that. The question about the Antichrist question was about the political rhetoric. That's why this guy, we're talking about turning down the rhetoric. And you got some guy who's got millions of followers going around calling somebody the Antichrist. That's actually really incendiary rhetoric. And could endanger Donald Trump and other people.
Right. But she didn't want to respond to it because she didn't think it was relevant.
Okay, that's fine. But it's not a trap. Like I said, she did fine. There would be no trap. She's a prosecutor. She was right. She said, I haven't told this person. I'm a prosecutor. I'm here. He wasn't trying to trap her. Throughout the entire interview, he had qualifications.
Well, I think he wanted her.
Work piece. Patty, can we do the room the way we normally do it? Do you have the clip?
She doesn't.
All right,
I'll
do it myself. Patty, which one is it? We'll just do it like we normally do it. Patty, which one is it? Is it? I don't know why this guy who did what he did wants to come in here and act like it's all great. What is it? Yeah, you're done for the day too. Just mute up. I'll find it myself. What is it, Patty? All right, cool. I mean, First Lady was the one that suggested it, and she left.
How's it going, everybody? Peace and blessings.
Patty, did I do something wrong? Why am I being treated in a hostile manner?
No.
Please tell him to stop. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Is my microphone work? Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.
No, I appreciate you for playing that. Thank you, man.
Ben, peace and blessings, Ben. Marshall, Devon.
Please leave him alone. Lucy, get down.
Can I say hi to you?
Just say good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Patty?
What's up, Devon?
Am I going to speak? Patty, can I speak to you?
I said good morning.
Thank you, Miss Patty. Oh my God, that's my sister in Christ. We're both Cherokee.
I'm not Cherokee.
You're not?
No.
My bad. Wrong tribe.
Well, I just want to say real quick, good morning, everyone.
Hey, how's it going, Charles? See how easy that is, everybody? It's called manners.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. We're trying to get this State of the Union with Jack Tapper.
Maybe he can play it. I actually don't care. He could do his fake penance.
Lord.
Okay.
I'm not having no problem.
So, man, Infinity, when you play them in between interviews, you got to stop and let us.
So would you like the Barney Frank interview? That's what's next. Well, actually, the next one is Tom Tillis.
She wants the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Well, listen, I'm asking for clarification.
She
Please
can't
don't
do
get
that.
uptight.
Just
So
play
where
the
you
whole
stop,
thing.
stop and play.
Please don't get uptight with me. Please don't get upset with me. I didn't hear her. What do you mean I'm done? Patty, what's the
Okay,
problem?
play the next one, man, Infinity.
All right, Tom Tillis is up next. Actually, skip this interview, so let's see what this is about.
Yeah, we play from the beginning to the end and just stop in between. Even if it's stupid, we just play the whole thing.
Okay, I'm just fast forwarding past the commercials. All right, here we go.
Close caption. Senator Tom Tillis. Welcome back to State of the Union. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Sometimes the immovable object wins. In this case, Republican Senator Tom Tillis, who stood up to the Trump administration and got his way. At least that's how it appears. Joining us now, Republican Senator Tom Tillis, North Carolina. So this is about the investigation into Jerome Powell, which you said you were not going to go forward with any other nominees until that investigation was dropped. It was suspended, but you just heard the U.S. Attorney, Jenny Bureau, she didn't rule out reopening the investigation into him. What's your reaction?
Well, what she said that's very important is that she would not, unless the Inspector General found something. That's the way this process is supposed to work. You don't create an investigation out of 2 minutes of testimony that 7 Republicans on the committee said there was no criminal activity or intent. So like that, I could see, I hope Inspectors General across the whole of government really drill down on projects and whether or not there was any mismanagement or criminal activity. There's probably a lot more where you may find some. I just don't think they're going to find them here, and I'm looking forward to Horowitz's report so we can move on.
She didn't sound like she was moving on, though. She sounded like she was going to appeal the decision by Judge Boasberg to stop her grand jury proceedings, and she wanted to look. She compared it to when she was a DA in Westchester County, and somebody would say there was no evidence of abuse of a kid, and then she would look into it and find evidence. I mean, that's what she said.
Well, she's combining two very, very different scenarios here, Jake. When we have this investigation, we got to go back and make sure that the prosecutor understands what was happening here. This was 2 minutes of testimony that arguably may have been a perjury trap, and they couldn't even pin the chair down on perjury. This is very different. This is, I think that Ms. Pirro said something proving the case. Well, the facts are that 7 Republican members, including the chair of banking committee, said no criminal activity occurred. The evidence was 2 minutes of testimony that all of those Republicans attested to. The reason they did not succeed on defeating the motion to quash is because they had virtually no information to serve as a basis for having the subpoenas to begin with.
Right.
So if they get criminal activity, then we'll talk about it. But I think this is a nice way of just ramping it down. At the end of the day, there was no crime committed, and prosecutors that I've spoken with all agree.
So, I mean, I guess the idea is president's critics say that this investigation only happened because he disagrees with Chairman Powell. Chairman Powell resisting pressure to lower interest rates, and that's why it happened. Just moving on to the issue of interest rates, because of the war in Iran, we are now seeing 3 Federal Reserve Bank presidents start to contemplate rate hikes. Do you think the president will lean on his new Fed chair to stop that? And do you have confidence that he will resist that pressure if so?
Yeah, I think so, because the bottom line is that the reason I decided to stand in the way of this bogus prosecution of Chairman Powell is not for the one position, but how they could systematically use that if they succeeded with the chair to take out enough Fed voting members of the Federal Oversight Committee on Market, FOMC, to where they could actually control the board outcome. Kevin is he's going to be a great chair, but at the end of the day, Kevin has to convince a majority of 12 people to vote on either a rate hike or a rate reduction. So the vote you saw, the FOMC, when they met this week, Byron voted because he thought that we should have reduced interest rates. He's a good guy, but he was 1 out of 12. 3 others who are president of banks, Fed banks across the country, were more concerned that we were leaning in that direction. Okay, that gives you the best case example of how this is a consensus-based organization. What I was trying to prevent is a series of prosecutions or moves to displace enough members to where you would have a de facto majority from any administration. And I'm less worried about a majority from the Trump administration than I am a Mamdani administration or a Warren administration and a Fed that's no longer independent. That's what I was fighting against. Not any one prosecution, but a process.
Is that a problem?
Independent to the Fed, and I think do disastrous harm to our financial systems.
Speaking of prosecutions, the Justice Department indicted former FBI Director James Comey again, this time for posting a photograph on Instagram of seashells spelling out 8647. 47, obviously Donald Trump is the 47th presidency. Here's what President Trump had to say about that.
Well, if anybody knows anything about crime, 86, you know what 86 is a mob term for killer. You ever see the movies? 86. The mobster says to one of his wonderful associates, 86, that means killer.
Do you think posting 8647 is a crime?
Again, if this prosecution, which is coming from the Eastern District of North Carolina, if this whole case is based on a picture in the sand of a North Carolina beach, it again makes no sense to me. Number one, 86. I used to work in the restaurant industry, and I think 86 actually has its roots as a cook.
That's my understanding too.
It has its roots in 86ing the menu or 86ing the product. I can't find any evidence except some that's come up after the president made the comment about the movies. I know the penal code in North Carolina, 187, means murder, but I can't find any evidence where 86 is used as a call for violence. And again, if it's more than just the picture, it reminds me of the 2 minutes of testimony against Powell. It better be more than just the picture. There have to be facts and circumstances beyond that to convince me. And Comey is the biggest disappointment of my Senate career. I actually stood up for this man in my first term in the Senate because I thought he was being attacked unfairly. I found out later that he was a political hack and he was motivated by political agenda. That alone, though, would not allow me support what I think on its face is some sort of a vindictive prosecution. Republicans are better than that. Let's leave it to the Democrats, and I can point to a litany of what I consider to be vindictive prosecutions and operations against conservatives, but let's not sink to their level. Let's be better.
I want to ask you about Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. You said that any nominee for that job who, quote, said anything the least bit excusing of the behavior of January 6th is dead on arrival, unquote. But under Todd Blanche's department asked an appeals court to dismiss the seditious conspiracy conviction for Proud Boys and Oath Keepers involved in the January 6th attack on the Capitol if the president nominates Blanche as Attorney General. As far as you're concerned, would his nomination be dead on arrival?
Well, I have not looked into the details, Mr. Blanche. On the whole, I've had good interactions with him, but I'm not going to have situational principles. If I go back and I examine any nominee's record, Mr. Blanche just being one of them, then I'm going to make the same decision that I made with Ed Martin and with Joe Kent. I'm not going to support their confirmation going through Judiciary Committee. I have allowed some U.S. attorneys out in other states that my members have asked me to clear. I would never allow them in the D.C. jurisdiction or in big DOJ. Look, I was there. It's very personal to me. For people who sat in the comfort of their living room and watched the events of January the 6th, they weren't there. They weren't in the chamber. They didn't see the police officers that were injured. They didn't see the damage to the building. There is no excuse for that. If you happen to be an unwitting tourist, so-called tourist, as Tucker Carlson called them, who walked into the chamber or walked into the building after it was damaged, maybe I'll give you a break after you paid a fine and served some time. But these thugs that injured police officers and anybody who condoned their behavior will not get my vote.
Senator Tom Tillis, Republican of the great state of North Carolina, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake.
If we really decide to take a very close look at these things, the justices of the past, present, future, I don't really know where to draw the line. We are up to date with the current events, with current events being the backdrop or the backdrop, and then looking at past, present, future. I would actually use a Robert Francis Kennedy as a justice. Robert Francis Kennedy Sr. example of a justice. Eric Holder, a very good friend of mine, I worked as the Minister of Justice for 17 years. Eric Holder being a good example. William Barr, fair example. The one chosen by Donald, I call him Donald John Trump. You call him Donald the Duck. You call him 47.5. Now you'll see it manifested in mathematics. Jeff Sessions, a total insult to the concept of justice. Clarence Thomas, a total insult to we the people. These things are being manifest, and then they've turned it into a filibuster. This is the thing that's perhaps complicated to many, but simplistic to those who study justice. I'm a student of justice, and I'm saying to you that when I look at Eric Holder and how he would move and how he would manage and move resources, and you put him back in again as the judge. It was the most sought after justice probably in the history of modern times, at least. Robert Francis Kennedy Sr. said, look, Mob, you bullshitting number, and shotgun on his fucking shoulder and said, look, Mob, if you hide in the desert of Las Vegas, I'm coming to get you. You hide back down in Miami, Florida, Myrtle Beach, I'm going to be there. You come to Chicago, I am the goddamn untouchable. I'm going to get justice. I'm going after you, the crime and the mob, and I'm going to take the goddamn presidency. In our estimation, mob killed him again. Blame it on Sirhan, they blame it on the goddamn Iranian. The whole Iranian conflict is shit. It's a vicious circle. The elitists and the bureaucrats are managing this shit, and they want to keep as much filibuster, as much rhetoric into the justice use anything to cause filibuster. And they're going to take your attention off of the real case and the real facts. William Barr, again, a guy that attempted to I think, achieve justice at minimum. I think he was a fair, he's a Republican judge, attorney, good guy. So I'll land my plane, but I know right now it's just a comedy, it's a comedy act, a slapstick comedy. It's not justice. It's rhetorical filibuster is what you got for justice right now. Over me.
My.
I was Tillis. Tillis is strange. They could, once the guy's confirmed, they could just open it back up. I don't even understand. But I couldn't understand Tillis's point. What perjury would you have for 2 minutes? I don't know. That was strange. The FBI director said they did a year of investigation. If they don't have back channels of Comey coordinating murdering efforts, and if the evidence is just the seashells, like 20 people should be fired. That's insane if that's all they have. If it's not, they gotta have back channels, they gotta have, the 86 squad, 86 boys from East Detroit, something that was going to take care, because it can't just be the seashells. There's no way they indicted him with just the seashells. That would be impossible. Beyond it.
Imperialism, empty rhetoric. You're right.
But I honestly think that's all they really have.
We can see on that. We just don't know at this point.
It'll allow. That's what we just said.
I'm emphasizing that point.
So let me ask this question. So a prosecutor will go into court and will bring a photo, seashells on the seashore, indict a couple. What are we doing?
Hopefully there's more information. If there's not,
Hopefully what?
Hopefully they can substantiate their claim. If they can't, then they'll be left out of court. We'll just have to wait and see. So wait and see how
You're about to get fired on your first day.
We never know the grand jury, what they present to the grand jury, because there's no defense in the grand jury. But I would be stunned if it was just this. Now, there's a way they could say, he had a history and all that, and maybe they, that kind of stuff. That's not what we're talking about. They need to find something related to. It's also weird to think that a hit would be seashells on the seashore. Like, it just, on its face, it sounds kind of stupid. Like, as a guy that's coordinating, a former FBI director is coordinating a hit, and his seashells on the seashore, eastern North Carolina, while walking barefoot with linen pants on. And what's wild about it is, I think this is pretty much all they have. Always their animosity was present. This is really bad. But the good news is if that Trump hadn't fired Kash Patel yet, he can use this as an excuse to fire Kash Patel. So it could be a win-win for Trump in that regard, or a win for Trump in that regard. If he needs a reason to fire, he can just fire him.
I think Trump made a mistake by sending that tweet or Truth Social post to Pam Bondi by signaling to the world that he had because before that he had the plausible deniability. That Truth Social post that he sent to Pam Bondi that basically made it naked that he wanted her to go after his political opponents. I think that was a major misstep on his part, and that will be used to fight back in court because it's a naked attempt to go after his political opponents. Now, it's okay to go after your political opponents if there's evidence that you can present in court, but when you push her to do it, then you fire her, it just has the looks of impropriety. But I have a wait-and-see attitude, which we should all have. It's very healthy to do it I'm just asking
other people would like to speak.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, we want you to continue when the discussion is over. But you know what? You're in charge. You shut the discussion.
I'm not in charge. I was just asking.
Go ahead, you can continue. Well, other people, we were still having a conversation.
All right.
I didn't say anything. I just asked, is somebody speaking? And clearly somebody was. Have they ended? Clearly they haven't. Now I can wait.
Okay.
Continue.
Well, we have to wait to see if someone wants to say something.
Did you want to respond to the clip, ma'am?
I did want to, but I'm kind of lost with it. I might as well just let him finish it.
No, listen. Let me help you understand what just happened. He was asking the gentleman to not play the clip just in case there were people who wanted to speak, which means they were making room for you. If you would like to speak on the clip, now is your time.
Please, I would like to.
Okay, it's your time. Go ahead.
When you guys ask about the clip, are you guys talking about the clip that is up there, or are you talking about your version of how you feel?
That we just played the interview between Tom Tillis and Jake Tapper on State of the Union with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash on CNN. Do you have a comment on the interview?
Can you replay it one more time?
We should not do that. We should not do that.
Nor is she lucid enough to even contribute. So, sorry.
Okay, so we can just move on. Unless anyone else has any other comments.
My only comment is, I just want to know, why does America want to go to war with Iran?
It's a bit outside of the focus.
Yeah, and I'm just saying outside of Israel, right? Outside of the Middle East. Like, if we really have to take it out.
Carry on. Thank you, Matt Penny.
I'm sorry, just continue?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is the interview with Barney Frank, who is in hospice care, lost a lot of weight. Former representative of Massachusetts. All right, here we go. Where's the volume now? Oh, I turned it off right here. All right, Barney Frank, this is Jake Tapper.
They want to move their career forward. Most people don't have.
My next guest is a trailblazer for many things, including he is the co-author of one of the most significant financial reforms since the New Deal. Now at age 86, 16 to former Massachusetts Congressman Barney Frank, a Democrat who is battling heart failure, just entered hospice care. And as he prepares for his goodbyes, he's directing his famously sharp wit not only at President Trump, but at his own party. And joining me now is former Democratic Congressman Barney Frank. Congressman, how are you feeling today?
Okay, I felt better. On the other hand, I anticipate feeling worse. I'm in no great pain, but my energy level is low. Essentially, after 86 years, my heart's just wearing out.
Let's talk about your book. It's going to be come out later this year. It's called The Hard Path to Unity, Why We Must Reform the Left to Rescue Democracy. You are a progressive icon, but now you are expressing some reservations about where the progressive movement has gone. Tell us more.
Yes, I know. I've been trying to decide, by the way, personally, whether it's better to be an icon or an emoji. I haven't decided that yet. But as far as that's concerned, it's precisely because I have been on the left that I've undertaken this. I think we're in a situation where the mainstream, to my disappointment, for many years ignored inequality. people. We picked to work on those issues which were more acceptable. We didn't get to marriage until after these other things had been resolved. And that's what I'm suggesting that we do today. The analog is male to female, transsexual, playing sports to women. I understand there's a lot of anger about that. And I think that the answer of the transgender community, as well as others, is to be better to like that and more granular way. And not simply announce that it was supported to another thing.
You live in Maine, where the establishment Democratic Senate candidate that you endorsed, the governor, Janet Mills, just dropped out to make way for her progressive challenger, Graham Plattner. Do you see that as a rejection of the Democratic establishment by voters? Why did that happen, do you think?
Look, Donald Trump, we originally thought was a joke. And then he turned out to be very good at one thing, exploiting voter discontent. So he won an election based on that. And since then, it's gone back to being a joke. He had no program that he'd seen he would not. I think Plattner actually shared with Trump this capacity for making the most out of the anger that people feel. What I'm afraid of is that you won't be able to translate that into enough votes. But I am concerned that on some, my party has a kind of reaction, a fight of the month tendency to that somebody new and too much is preferred for the people who understand the importance of hard work to get controversial things done.
You said you think President Trump is imploding, and you told Politico that you regret that you're not going to see the continued implosion of President Trump because of your current health situation. What makes you confident that he's imploding, and do you think he has permanently changed politics in America?
No, I think he's temporarily changing. I was afraid beforehand, but there was a period, as I said, when they thought he was a Jew. And then people were shocked when the joke won the election. And it turned out that he was able to hang her. And people assumed that that one talent he had showed that he was a brilliant strategist across the board. No, it turned out to show that he is an idiot savant. He was good at one thing and terrible at everything else. So that could be some hope, because he is going to show up with bad results, but say in the book early on that the fate of liberal democracy versus authoritarian populism will depend in part on how Donald Trump does. And if he does badly, that spreads the whole operation. I'm convinced that he does not have an appeal beside exploiting anger. But he's so angry, and his politics is so determined by his anger that he doesn't see that. And so that's why I think he's imploding.
What do you want people to remember about Congressman Barney Frank?
Oh, that I was smart. I learned enough about the reaction not to answer that question.
I would just say on behalf of myself, who's enjoyed covering you for a decade and admired your passion and your brain and wit, that I'll miss you.
Thank you.
It's great to see you again, sir. Thank you so much. You can watch the whole interview with Congressman Frank online at cnn.com/SOTU, State of the Union. Coming up with bombshells.
Yeah, I could tell that the interview was edited, but I think although his heart is failing, his brain is still working, and I thought he made a lot of interesting points, although I disagree on some things. I think he made some interesting points. One of the more interesting points that stuck out to me was when he said that the current day special issue litmus test. And he's really against that. And I hadn't really looked at it that way, but I tend to agree with that assessment by former Congressman Barney Frank, who's seemingly on his way out of life.
I thought the interview was a disgrace. I don't think he said anything interesting. I think Jake Tapper should be ashamed of himself. I think someone who's on their deathbed, if you watch the interview, he looked like he had died 2 weeks ago and was being ventriloquized. Could you not moan in my ear while I'm speaking? Do you mind?
Oh, no, I thought it was on mute. I thought I was on mute. My apologies.
Just mute up. Thank you.
I said I thought I was on mute. I'll be muted.
I understand. The moaning in the ear is a little distracting.
It's not moaning. It's not moaning.
All right, I'm done.
Just heard a report that the UAE Dubai is on a higher alert to other citizens.
Y'all room, the room y'all like to do. Like this is already done.
Okay.
It's
Hold on, Black. We're talking about what we're listening to. We're listening in the morning. We listen to the news, and then we can get to any other political.
Patty, check out my PTR. It's a future. Go ahead.
Okay, that's fine. Any other comments?
Yes, I do have a comment on the state of exploiting the anger and the discontent of the people. And I think many in the GOP, point out Bush and Trump in particular, and their networks have been experts in exploiting the discontent and the anger in the people and mismanage their government and mismanage their political sentimentality and use that as the whole people. They'll gather a support network, as saying, and then use that against the whole country, and then we all get to suffer under the exploitation of those that have seized power and just say, nah.
Is that any good politician can do that, does that. Take discontent of the people, they'll use it in a way to get them monopolies by saying they'll do better. Current politicians are failing you. Trump did do that very effectively with any politician. That's a very basic skill that any good politician should have. It's nothing.
When you use it all the way up, if there's a storm, this guy's using the water in Iran now.
All right, let me use the next.
Like anytime, just early events.
That's it, Pam. That's it.
Yeah, that's it for State of the Union. Okay. I do have all the other Sunday shows, whether it's Meet the Press or.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Infinity. We were trying to listen to something different. State of Union, they have theirs behind a paywall. However, Manfinity has YouTube without commercials. So again, like I said, sometimes we don't know the full story, but that is the full story. Back to you.
Thank you, Manfinity, for playing.
I would, if Ben will circle back before we got to the moaning. Ben was going to share something with us.
So the man is a month towards death. He probably will be dead in a month. If he makes it past a month, it's a miracle that would even impress Lazarus. I mean, it would be incredible. And I don't understand why Jake Tapper had to do it with video. If you watch the video, it's utterly heartbreaking. When I saw a still of it, I thought, there was a video. The way he looked in the still was how he looked the entire video. People will do anything for money. The man has no principle, to my mind. All the news that's happening, he decided to dedicate a segment to a near 90-year-old person on their deathbed who has no understanding of the dynamic paramedics on the ground in the country, who has been in hospice for a long time, who only has won in plus 30 districts in Massachusetts. Barney Frank might be so old, he's not, hold on. I don't even know if he's a baby boomer. That's how old Barney Frank. Barney Frank is...
He's the same age as
silent generation. He's part of the silent generation. Baby boomer, sorry, 45. He's not even a baby boomer, right? Look, absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to bring my cameras into hospice care. It's something that nobody should ever say. So I put that, that's one piece. That's just my own personal thing. Other people can feel different, that's fine. Secondly, I don't know what Barney Frank was talking about. I thought what he was saying about Plattner was absurd. The litmus test, when he was in the Democratic Party, they had litmus tests. Political parties always have litmus tests. He might not like the litmus tests. He might say the litmus tests are losing. I disagree that there are litmus tests. I mean, depending on where you are. Roy Cooper doesn't have a litmus test. He's about to split North Carolina. He didn't have a litmus test. Roy Cooper's litmus test is Roy Cooper. John Ossoff didn't pass a litmus test. He's about to win in, what's his name? Gallego didn't have a litmus test. The political media's, this will be my last comment on this piece. They consistently confuse tracking the political horse trading news. And I actually wish they would separate the two. So that when we're watching this show, they're doing news. And we're watching this show, we're doing political horse trading. I wish we could get that separation. But Jake Tapper's rank desperation to keep his job with these new people coming in, to get as many eyeballs as he can, is pathetic. Truly pathetic. His book, the way he hocked it, was pathetic. That's my favorite Obama joke at any White House correspondence. I only know about 3 of them. That's my favorite one. When he roasted Jake Tapper. It's very true. I'm done.
Wow, so you're not the only person that has said it. It's been said before. Okay. I watched it.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were asking me. But go ahead.
I was kind of asking if you want to respond.
No, I just don't see it. From those 3 interviews, I thought the first one with Jeanine Pirro, I thought they both did a fine job. It was fine. The second one with Tom Tillis was a complete waste of time. We didn't learn. And did anybody learn anything from that interview with Tom Tillis? Tom Tillis is not running for re-election. You didn't ask him, why aren't you running for re-election? Tom Tillis, that seat is Roy Cooper and Wilder. Who are you supporting in that seat? What are the dynamics of North Carolina? Why has North Carolina? He didn't give us anything. I'm sitting at my desk with a coffee. I just came up with that just off the dome. He didn't give us any. Instead, it was the political horse trading. The political horse trading. So I don't find anything, Jake Tapper. I don't find anything. But I think the Barney Frank thing in particular is my own personal thing. I think it was immoral. Did you see what he looked like, First Lady?
Yeah, I saw it because I had it on, but I was walking around doing everything. And when I went, I actually rewinded it because the glimpse that I caught, I said, is he asleep? What's going on? I said, well, who is this person? So I went and I rewound it. And in the beginning of the interview, he was more coherent. But as the time went on, it was just like, probably the medication, whatever they had him on, was kicking in. But he was definitely trying to stay up and have a conversation.
That's actually, I had to put up captions during the interview because you couldn't really make out what he said he already has a speech impediment as it is. So with his condition, I'm sure it only worsens his ability to communicate clearly. And I understand your point, and that it seems gratuitous, but on the other hand, maybe he wanted to have this interview to kind of sign off, show people that this is his last hurrah. Maybe if he's agreeable to it, I wouldn't go so heavy on Jake Tapper, especially if that.
Well, did you hear him say that perhaps maybe just didn't show the video? Would that have worked?
Right.
Even if he signed off on it.
No, but I think Ben said that they put CNN cameras in his house. That was clearly to me. It looked like he was using his phone.
He also mentioned the fact that it should not have been recorded. That's what he was saying. So I'm asking you specifically, would that have worked for you? Like, would you be okay if you didn't have to have the whole picture? Would you listen to the interview?
A phone interview would have been fine. What I'm saying is maybe Barney Frank requested to have his face shown, even though he looks like that. And I'm saying if those were his wishes, maybe they were honoring it. Maybe Jake Tapper.
But there was a time, I know when I was growing up, like certain things, it just wouldn't show, regardless of what people wanted. The audience in itself, just you know what I mean. Like it's already difficult to watch the commercials. To actually sit and watch, it might be disturbing to some. So even though he might have said, "Hey, listen, this is what I want. What's best for your audience who's tuning in?" That's the idea.
Yeah. Almost positive this production team were looking at that like, do we think we should go with this, y'all? I'm sure they thought about it and they decided to go forward. I don't know why.
Okay. All right. It's done. It's finished.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to go back and forth with anybody, Tiffany. To put an alternative perspective.
Barney Frank in the interview, just for the substance of it, he mentioned trans. I've not seen in this cycle any trans litmus tests. If people have, please let me know, especially in contested races. I have not seen any trans litmus tests. I have not seen that as a major issue. I have not seen that. I don't know if have other people seen it?
I think they're referring to the woman. That went to Congress, and when
I'm asking for trans litmus tests for political parties running for office. That is what a litmus test is. We're not talking about witnesses who are private citizens who work at hospitals. My question is not about that.
Infinity is not the work
specific about it. Did anybody see? Has anybody seen any candidates who have fallen because they didn't pass a trans litmus test this cycle? That's my only question. I'm not asking you guys in Congress.
The answer is no, but the Republicans are going to try to run on it anyway.
Okay, I agree with that. They did it last with some Sears, remember? I agree that. I was only asking for information. I wasn't asking for analysis. But you guys can answer however you like. I'm done.
Did you understand the previous DFA? Okay, are you confident that you understood the previous DFA? What was the
Yep. So that was the end of that. That was the State of the Union enforcement.
Did you want to hear the Attorney General with
No, thank you.
Meet the Press?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, he was actually doing me a favor because I couldn't play it. I don't know why everybody's so upset.
Yeah, because
Well, Patty, I think people are upset because of the 3 hours of disrespect that many of them were subject to. That's all. It has nothing to do with you or the thing. That's all. It's just, I think for a lot of people, because it happened only 2 days ago or a day and a half ago, it's still a little fresh.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Yeah. I mean, it was really vile. He admitted it. He's admitted it. So for a lot of people, that's what it is. It's not a personal thing on you. It was very, very disturbing.
Mostly, I ain't even worried about it being on me because I'll kick your ass out.
I didn't mean it like that, Patty. You know what?
If they got something to say, no, not you. I'm talking about the audience. If anybody got something to say to me,
They don't have any problem with you.
I ain't kicking out.
But nobody. It's not about you. I wasn't. Nobody has a problem with you.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I didn't know what happened because I barely be in the rooms now like that in the evening. I just be in here in the morning, but. I was like, what's going on? We just playing the video. That's it. But I don't know what happened in the room. So.
I like a lot of it.
But again, thank you, man, Infinity. And whatever you said, you might want to apologize. I don't know what happened.
I've apologized for my part in it. But it was a two-way street. But I do apologize for my part in it. 100%.
It's not even about the two-way street. Just apologize for your piece.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Anyway, let me see what else is going on.
Patty, do you want to hear the Attorney General with Meet the Press?
Oh, I can play that one. I can play that one, Infinity. But I don't really want to play Meet the Press. I think we can play Meet the Press in the afternoon, the evening, whatever, on Sunday. I was trying to play something different, but obviously we can't play State of the Union because you gotta pay for it through Prime, and I'm not paying $2 right now.
Don't you have a...
Enough points for me to be wasting my time or money, and I'm not playing YouTube, so it's not on YouTube. I'm not getting YouTube TV. So I'm gonna go back to our Face the Nation, which had different interviews. But I appreciate it. Hold on.
Do you see that Trump is trying to use the EEOC to prosecute discrimination against white folks? They see they have a case that they're pushing at the New York Times.
So what case do they have?
Well, it's a guy who claims that he was not promoted to deputy editor because of his race and gender, a white male employee. This is Ryan Stelter. So I could put a link in the chat that they're trying to use the EEOC for this in general.
I mean, regardless of Trump being in office, he could have used it anyway. So I don't know why he's advertising it.
Who's the he there? You mean the employee at the Times?
Yeah, he could have used it anyway. If he felt
I don't
like
know if
he
he's. I don't think he's the one advertising. I think CNN is investigating a little bit. Came up with this.
Oh, wow.
He's not named.
Oh, go ahead and share it because I got time so I can read it. I really think it's stupid that people are putting that on the news because, wasn't this available to them even under the Obama administration? If you were discriminated against, I don't think it specifies that white males can't use it either.
Well, that reminds me of the Bakke thing.
What?
Which is, there was a guy in the late 70s named Bakke, B-A-K-E, who filed a reverse discrimination case that went up to the Supreme Court over a spot in a medical school at UC Davis. It's another one of your reverse discrimination deals. So
was it like when the young lady, what institution was that she tried to sue and said that she wasn't admitted because of affirmative action. They were making affirmative action only to find out she wasn't admitted because there were better applicants than her. What was that? She had red hair.
Yeah, that rings a bell. That was like a couple of years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I remember because she was on every meme that said a true example of it be your own people, and she wasted all those people's money and time in court because she just couldn't accept rejection.
She was a white woman.
Yeah.
Where she would have got the thing.
Yeah. So when I hear shit like that, it makes me chuckle.
This is consistent, though, with Trump's weaponizing of the legal system.
Yeah, I think it's stupid because I don't even believe in the word reverse discrimination, right? It's just discrimination. So if he was discriminated against, he has every right to fucking file with the EEOC. That's what they're for, right? You can be discriminated against for things and be white.
Looks like we're going to get the Pulitzer Prizes today, I think. And the Met Gala is tonight, the Pulitzer Prizes. I waited twice. And the Met Gala is tonight.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people are boycotting of Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be there?
He's a sponsor.
Pulitzers will be announced in 5 hours. Says.
Who's going to be announced in 5 hours?
The Pulitzer Prizes.
Oh, someone wants to listen to it in 5 hours. I'll probably
still away.
What were you non-alarm one? It can't be Clubhouse antics. What is it?
No, it's not a category. Twice. Once for an article about an investigation of heroin use, yuppies, and once for Bosnian pursuit of peace. Yeah, it was called Bosnia. The latter was part of a team. The first was an individual.
Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you. 2 nominations.
Congratulations on both of them.
Thank you. But I ended up winning the NAACP Image Award. So I'm looking at it on my coffee table. It's almost as tall as I am.
Okay, so we're going to go back to Face the Nation. All right, y'all. Y'all know the routine. 24 hours, just like the last clips with the Anthony played. We'll break in between each interview and let y'all have the conversation.